Hi. In today's session, we're going to talk about consuming Datasphere models in Power BI and Microsoft Excel using ODBC connectivity. It is a continuation to my previous session on the topic of OData service connectivity on Datasphere models in Power BI. In this topic, you can see consuming Datasphere models, graphical views and SQL views on the left-hand side using OpenSQL schema of native HANA Cloud. We're going to leverage the data connectivity to the Datasphere models and access the data in Power BI and Microsoft Excel. Let's go through the steps or prerequisites that are required for the setting up this connection. So we're going to install the ODBC driver from Microsoft. It's most of the machines would have this driver, so it doesn't have to be installed. In case if you haven't, just install the ODBC driver from Microsoft website onto your machine, and then install the HANA client tools. And then after that, we're going to create a database user in Datasphere space, a particular space where our graphical views are created or developed. We're going to create a database user there, and then that represents the OpenSQL schema of what we are going to use it for. And then on the administration side, allow the IP address in Datasphere tenant of your local machine so that it is the connection is allowed and no firewall issues while establishing the connection. And then after that, everything is set up, and then we can go to Power BI desktop and get data and set up the ODBC connectivity and provide the authentication to the OpenSQL schema. This process is going to be same for Microsoft Excel as well. Let's start with the prerequisites. As I said, ODBC driver is pretty much standard. You would have it. You can check the ODBC driver and also install the HANA client tools. You can install the HANA client tools from on-demand tools like SAP on demand, SAP Cloud. This is a website you can find in the internet, SAP development tools. You can go to the HANA tab and you can find command line HANA client tool here. This is the different versions of your HANA client. You can download it for depending on your operating system. Mine is Windows 64, and then I installed it and then ran the installation of the HANA client tools. Once the installation has been completed, now you can check your ODBC client of HANA in ODBC driver data sources. So mine is 64-bit. Open this one, and then you can see user DSN. You can see that the first one is actually the drivers. You can see HDB ODBC driver is already displaying here. And now you can set up a user DSN by adding a new data source. So the driver is going to be HDB ODC, and then say finish, and then give a data source name. You can say Datasphere ODBC, and then description Datasphere ODBC connectivity, and then you're going to connect to the data type as HANA Cloud, because Datasphere is going to be on top of your HANA Cloud. Host, you can provide the native HANA Cloud host information and then user ID and password. You can get this information from the space management. Go to the space management, select your space or edit your space, and then go to the database access tab. If you have already created a user, that's fine. If you haven't created a user, create a new user, database user. This is not a Datasphere user. Of course, it is a database user. Since I already created one, so I'm going to go to the information page. So you can find the host name there. This is going to be your host. Select the host and paste it here. And also need to provide the port that is going to be 443. Put the port at the end, HTTPS. And then test connection. In order to test the connection, you'll have to provide user ID and password. So the user ID and password, this is your user name. And then password, it's not going to show you every time because it's going to be available at the very beginning or very first time. So if you don't save it, you'll have to request for a new password. I don't have to do it. I already saved it. It's available here. I'm going to take this password and enter it in the connectivity. So say okay. The connection is successful, which means the connection is established fine. The reason, if you have any error in communication failure and etc., that probably because of your IP address is not allowed. I can show you. This is all good. Okay, right? So I say okay. So my a new data source is being added here. This is what my new data source is called, DSP underscore ODBC. I can use this data source to connect to the data sphere or HANA cloud and access the models in Datasphere. But before that, as I said, one of the other prerequisite, which I already made, that's why I didn't get any error, is to allow your IP address. You can allow the IP address in Datasphere by going into System, Configuration, IP allow list, trusted IPs, and then here you will add, this is my IP address of my personal machine, so that it's already added. So it didn't give any problem when connecting to HANA. It's all done, prerequisites are done, and the required configurations are also done. Now the next step is to go to the target client like Excel or Power BI. In this case, I will try with Excel. And in the Excel, you can choose to get data. Let's go open a blank workbook first, and then data, then get data. And this is going to be from a database, right? So choose from data. Actually, it's ODBC connectivity that we are going to establish. So choose from other sources and then choose from ODBC. Click on ODBC, and it's going to ask you to choose the data source that is available on your ODBC driver page. Okay, I am in from the DSN of ODBC connectivity. I just established the data source here and say okay. Now it is going to ask me for username and password. It is going to be the same user password I just grabbed. I have them here. The user I created in Datasphere space. I'm going to use this data, and then the password is this one. It's in. Oh, it's actually 5, and then everything else say connect. Okay, now that's it. It is connected to my Datasphere HANA cloud system, OpenSQL schema. Now you can see all the schemas that are visible to my database user I created in space. Since my access or all the objects are going to be in IT Central, I have IT Central space selected, and then I can see all the analytic models and as well as graphical views. So I'm going to select a graphical view and then say load. It is going to do the same thing that we have done in the first part using OData service connectivity for GB financials. So I'm going to say load. This is going to be really fast because it's ODBC connectivity, not the HTTPS OData service connectivity like last in the previous use case. So it's getting data. Data has been loaded successfully into Excel. You can summarize and do more with pivot table. You can prepare the pivot table and then do kind of rows and columns exchanges and etc. in Excel. But the same action you can be doing it in Power BI as well. So if you look at the query here, you can also do a refresh, and then load to option is also available to have a pivot table in the next sheet in this Excel page. Okay, now as I said, I can use Power BI to have another use case to show the ODBC connectivity. It is going to be exactly or very similar, say more, and then say ODBC connectivity. This time, there is a predefined connector for ODBC. This is the symbol, say connect, and then you got to provide required user ID and password details for the data source string that you just created. This is going to be DSP ODBC and say OK, and will prompt you for user and password. And then you can just give that. Which we already did it a couple of times at least now, and then I'm going to do it again. Control C, and then the password. Say connect. You will get the connection established, and also you can see all the schemas as we saw there in Excel. And you can pick your model and then load the data in Power BI as well. This is how pretty much I can conclude the ODBC connectivity in Power BI and Microsoft Excel from Datasphere models data. So that we have gone through two scenarios, and this is two conclusion for the two parts of consumption Datasphere data in Power BI and Microsoft Excel clients. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.